who likes technology? Do you like technology? I love technology. It's so much fun. I've only been through, what, about 3 web browsers in the past. This is supposed to be over now, 6:20. I told you guys this would be a 20-minute webinar. So now it's 4:20, 6:20, so we're done. That's it. If you're listening to this, if you're on live, I'm very grateful and honored that you were patient enough with me to attend and share in this presentation. It's going to be very short. I'm going to probably go 24 minutes now because I want to catch up on a few things and vent my frustration. But quite frankly, we're going to just get going here. And for those of you who did miss it, you're probably watching this on a replay right now because I'm going to post it all over the place for replay. You won't be able to get questions answered, but you can contact me privately for that. I'll be happy to answer questions for 14 years because I was so messed up on this webinar. So let's get started. We're going to go right to, I'm going to go switch over to the PowerPoint presentation. I got some really pretty slides here I made for you guys. So let me just take a second to do that. And there's a lot of really crazy stuff there. And here we go. This is it. This is called Leverage Your Brand, Don't Get Scammed. It's 7 Secrets for Broadcast Radio Excellence. And it's a topic that's not talked about a whole lot because of the proliferation of the internet, social media, marketing, and all that jazz. But I'm a little bit of an old school guy. I got my degree from Northwestern Radio, Television, and Film, so I have a little bit of a background with broadcast media, even though I love online media, except today. So here's the big idea. The big idea is broadcast radio, when it's integrated intelligently, is probably one of the biggest boosters for a person's brand, company, business. Number one, radio will give you instant credibility, not months or years, even like conventional things will take you, but instantly. And that's because it reaches large audiences right away. There is no delay when it comes to being on the radio. As soon as you're on the air in front of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people. The third thing it does, it elevates you above your competition. You're not competing with anybody per se in terms of social media or online presence, because there's still that feeling of, hey, that guy was on ABC, that guy was on Fox News. You see him, there's that celebrity status being associated when you are with a broadcast medium. So that's a big idea. How can we integrate it intelligently in anyone's business? So we're going to talk about that. There's obviously a problem with doing that. The first off being cost. It's not an inexpensive thing to go on the radio. Whether you're an advertiser or have your own show, there's fees involved. And what makes it even worse is there's huge choices now with podcasting and blog talk and XM radio and traditional broadcast radio. So there's a lot of choices, and that adds to a lot of confusion, of course. But the biggest problem with all of that is even if you decide to do 1, 2, 3, 5 marketing campaigns, integrating them has to be done exponentially. You've got to be able to put that radio lever underneath your fulcrum of your brand and push up all your other media. They've got to work seamlessly together. So my intention is for you to take one of 3 areas, or maybe all 3, and that is to be a sought-after guest by the media, using the media in an advertising venue, or even become known as a media personality, and that can be as a guest or even as a host. The basic premise of that is get prospects contacting you. And how do I know about this? Well, I have a little bit of a background in media. I've been an author for quite a while. I've published articles on Bankrate, Yahoo Finance, Chicago Tribune, etc. I've spoken at Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad conferences and real estate venues around the country. Been a journalist. I'm an entrepreneur mainly, and I'm founder of Bexy Media. So we focus on people getting their books done and basically using their book and their platform to elevate their message and get their passion fulfilled. That's the basis of it. It's a book, a blog post, or a radio interview. It's all the same thing. It's getting your message clearly and uniquely out there to your audience. That's what we do. So my story, and briefly I'll try to do this in 3 minutes or less. There's I spent 18 years or so as a real estate investor. And I took one of those crazy no money down courses and thought they were really great and started buying property. But before I knew it, I was a full-time real estate investor and developer. And what happened was I got approached by a venture capitalist who went to a weekend boot camp. And this guy said, geez, Doug, this guy just did a huge boot camp. And He made $900,000 in a weekend, and you've got some speaking skills and 18 years in real estate. Why don't you do one of those things and you make a bunch of money? And I said, those things don't work, Chris. And he commented, yeah, they do. I just met this guy. I saw his numbers. It was real numbers. And I said, no, it doesn't work for the participants. So he challenged me to come up with something that did work, and I came up with this radical idea of a school. We actually attended classes for 10 weeks, a physical building, brick and mortar business. Attended class for 10 weeks, and the only way you graduated was to actually buy a piece of real estate. What do you know? So we're not going to make a lot of money having 10, 15 people in a classroom for 10 weeks. I knew that, but that wasn't the goal, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a healthy little, little 7-figure business, but it was struggling. I was speaking every month. I was getting out there in the marketplace, but it was all outbound marketing. I was not known. There was no book. And I did get approached by radio, but it was just too expensive the first year or so. But after about the second year of business, we were struggling. 35 to 50% of our cost was marketing, a lot of outbound marketing, call centers, trade shows, just a pain in the rear end to get your message out there and compete against the big guys. So I gave my staff a goal one year. I said, you know what? We need to convert all of our outbound marketing efforts. I want all to come to us. I want the phones to ring. And we accomplished that in about 6 months. And the way we did that, crazily enough, was through radio. We integrated our radio with other marketing. Instead of just buying ads, which we started to, we actually brokered a show, and I became a host on first WIND and then WLS in Chicago. And to complement that, I wrote and published an absolutely horrible book, which is a topic for a different webinar we'll cover. So what I want to do right now is take the last few minutes and go through the 7 secrets that were revealed to me as both an advertiser, as a guest, because I've been a guest on dozens of shows, and also a host on several radio programs, both WIND, WLS, and even the place in Atlanta. So let's go through those, and we'll cover them. First one is leveraging local. Leveraging local is a really unique thing. On my website, it says, Doug is seen on Fox News, ABC, CBS. Well, let's be really honest about that. It was a local Fox station. It wasn't national. My gig on CBS News was on CBS Chicago. There's a big difference between local and national in terms of the your eyes. Okay, I'm gonna broadcast my message locally Chicago, but the logo is the same nationwide or locally. So the lift I get from that, from a branding standpoint, is I've been on Fox News, I've been on CBS. And that is a reality. It's not a lie. It just happens to be a local station as opposed to national. So that's fine depending on what your business model is. In our case, it was absolutely fine because we were a local company anyway. A national media player probably wouldn't have served us well at all. But the biggest thing it does for you is it gives you immediate credibility in the marketplace, regardless if it's Podunk, Iowa, or New York City. You're on an affiliate station, and it counts. The second secret is advertising works. Organic is free. Technically, it's not because you spend a lot of time with organic advertising and getting PR. But when you actually buy ads and do it properly and do it effectively, it can work. And one of the secrets in radio advertising is to not just focus on the radio platform, but there are other venues, because all radio stations have websites, they have email lists, they have live events. And when you go into advertise with those companies, it's okay to talk about airtime. It's okay to digest that information. But don't forget, they've got other media properties. So as you're negotiating those things out there, it's always good to leverage their other properties. And one of those properties is unspoken that there's a great opportunity for you is Remnant. You ever been in a carpet store and you see those Remnant rolls of carpet in the wall? They're always discounted by 30, 40, 50%. This is very true in a lot of industries, but especially true in radio. Think about it. A carpet company, once they have a Remnant, they can sit in the shelf there for months, for years even. But in the world of radio, once that day is over, that Remnant inventory has vanished. It's gone. So there's Remnant inventory on radio stations every single day. And that might be 2 a.m. slots, and that's where they put a lot of these public service announcements on there, of course. But the Remnant inventory you can get from a radio station is gold. It can help with the branding, it can help promote a show that you might do or an upcoming interview. But always try to bundle it with anything you're buying, because they're not going to give Remnants away to anybody. But if you're giving them several, some bucks on a radio campaign, always ask to bundle some of their or a lot of their Remnant inventory with you. One of the secrets of being a good host, or excuse me, being a good guest, is to make the host look good. Because a lot of people, when they go on the air for the first time, think, oh, I'm here to talk about my book, my brand, my company, my widget. Your purpose is to make the host look good. It's his show, and he's there to sell advertising space and to keep people compelled to stay on his program. So the better job you can do of making your host look good, the more likely he'll invite you back, and the more likely the show will go well. So here's a couple of tricks to pull that off. Number one, when you're doing a program, write up the questions you want the host to ask you if you're a guest, and the amount of time it takes for each answer. When you do that, you've, number one, shown that you're a professional media guest. You know how this game works. But number two, you've made his job really easy. He doesn't have to read your book. They rarely do. He doesn't have to know who you are. You've already explained it in your little press kit. He doesn't have to look at the clock every 60 seconds and figure out how long it's going to take you to answer, because you've already told him the length of time for your answers. So make sure you prepare that document for your guest, for your host, when you're going to be a guest. Lastly, always compliment your host. Call him or her by his first name, or his or her first name, and when the show is over, they generally come back when they're off air for a second and thank you. Obviously, thank them back, but ask if they can give you any quick feedback or a follow-up call later that week or that day for some feedback on how you went, how you could do a better job. It shows them that you're a professional and also lets them know that you respect their opinion. Secret number 5 is to infuriate someone. Controversy sells. I'm sorry, but if you talk about the Happiness Project on your radio, as a guest on a radio show, it's going to be boring and people are going to tune you out. On the other hand, if something suppose it's a tragic suicide or something, and you comment on that, of how your happiness book could have saved that person, you're tying a controversial trending topic with your positive message. So I don't want you to be negative, I don't want you to be a nudge out there, but when you are controversial in your stance, boldness is revered, right? If you're bold with something, you're gonna excite some people who agree with you, and you're gonna tick off some people who don't agree with you. So I always take a lesson from that blowhard Rush Limbaugh, right? Love him or hate him, I don't care, right? Half his listeners do not like him, half his listeners do like him. But the key word in those two sentences are they're both listeners, and the advertisers love that. So keep that in mind. Don't be a pacifist. Don't just be don't be white toast out there. Be controversial. You'll get more attention. You'll make the host look better, and you'll get invited back. Secret number 6 is to practice this. You're not going to be your very first guest spot and your very first show. If you're hosting a show like I did, my first show was awful. It stunk. I was talking and I was stuttering, and it was just bad. 2.5, 3 years later, when I'm on ABC, I was tracking pretty well. It was engaging. It was professional. It sounded more like a regular program, like a news program, because I had time to practice it. So nowadays, with the internet, you can practice on podcasts, internet channels, and Blog Talk. You can get your own radio station tonight by just going to Blog Talk Radio and start practicing. Getting feedback, of course, will be really critical to that. So all these things, secrets 1 through 6, all apply towards being an advertiser, being a guest, or even being a host. And being a host is sort of a funny thing. People think that, geez, you're a radio host, it's like a career. Well, if you ever listen to a weekend show, listen very carefully. Most of those people, their career is something other than being on the radio. They do that once a week, not once a day. And when they do it once a week like that, they are generally having another business they're promoting. It could be a health business, a legal business. In my case, it was a real estate investor business. And I had both sides of the coin here in terms of sponsorship. I got asked by a friend of mine, Steve, the other day, about should he get sponsors to sponsor his show. And my answer was, I understand your need for that, because when you're brokering a weekend show, they don't pay you to do that. You pay them to do that, and it costs a lot of money. So it's important to know that when you go down that road, in our case, when we did it, we first looked at sponsors because it was very expensive. Right away, we figured out it was not a good idea because it dilutes your message, it takes away from your airtime, and at the end of the day, you're actually getting muddled. Your message is getting muddled with other people. So I encourage you to consider being a host, but before you do that, make sure you've got a nice suite of products and services from low to mid to high range in terms of price points, because with a high price point item, in our case, we only had to sell like 2 students per week, or perhaps 2 months. I don't know what it was. It was not much, probably 2 to 4 per month to pay for our first show. By the time we upgraded to ABC, it was much higher than that, but we had the experience and the legacy to pull that off. It's a very, very expensive endeavor to do that. So sponsoring your own show is a great way to go about that. I'll be happy to take some questions on that and get people to help you pull that off if that's one of your goals. So now there's some disqualifiers of being in the radio. If you're a lone ranger and if you only want to do this by yourself, forget it. There's no way to do a properly produced show, be on the air every week. And I mean, solopreneur is okay, but you've got to have some support staff, whether they're interns or paid, to help you pull this kind of thing off. I had a staff of 5 people, and 2 or 3 of them every week were helping me do getting guests on the show and getting content and following up with leads. Obviously, as a guest, that's not a big issue, but as a host, you definitely need you need support to do that. The other person that disqualifies you from most radio shows, either as a guest and a host, is really affiliate marketers. No disrespect to that industry, but if you have something unique to say that you can claim as your own, radio probably isn't the best venue for you. The third thing is a challenge is egos. And this is where it actually can work to your favor if you're a guest on somebody else's show, by thanking them, by making them look good, because everybody, yours truly included, everybody on the radio as a host has an ego, and they wouldn't be in the media if they didn't have that desire. So if you've got the desire and you are desiring to be a host, it's okay, but just keep it in check, and you'll be okay. You'll have stalkers, but it's okay. You're on the radio. No one's going to see who you are. So the purpose of this entire webinar, quite frankly, as you saw when you opted into this, was to build a community. I'm paying it forward. There's nothing to sell today. There's no credit card payments. There's nothing to buy. This is all about building a community of like-minded folks who want to differentiate themselves in their niche. They want to be unique, and they want to serve. Now, obviously, there's business to be had, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about community and serving selflessly, and with that, the only way this works is that old emotional bank account that Stephen Covey talked about in 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. You've got to give more than you receive. You can't withdraw more that's in your bank. So with that, here's what I'm going to do for you guys today. I want to give you a bunch of stuff. Number one, I promised you a book. It's, I think, a 25-page book or so on broadcast radio excellence. It includes these 7 secrets with a lot more detail to them. I've also included with this book 21 best practices to help you really kick it hard if you're going to be a guest, an advertiser, or a host. So I'm going to email that all to everybody, even the people that are getting this on the replay. So you'll have that as your hot little copy. It is not a copywritten book. I wrote it myself. It's all my content. I did not put the big C number symbol on there because I want you to actually share it. There's nothing truly secret in there. All right? When they say secrets, that's marketing. We all know that. But the content in there is unique, and if you were to go out on the internet and you could search for it, it would take you 6 to 12 months to years to get it. I just happen to take several years of my life and compiled it in this book. But I want you to go ahead and read it, use it, and then give it away. It's fine. The second 2 gifts I'm going to give you, I'm going to upgrade because of the technical thing that happened with this webinar. One of them was basically a free press release. I'm going to give everybody a press release in a Google-certified company called Newswire. And the second thing I'm going to give you guys is a 1-hour consultation with me. And what I'm going to do with that is, again, I'm going to take any topic in terms of marketing, publicity, publishing, and even broadcast radio, and I will spend a full hour with you on Skype. You've got to schedule that. And these links you see on the screen here will be obviously emailed to you as well. I'm not going to make you memorize or write those down. I'll email those to you, and you can schedule time with me, and we can talk about your business. It's completely confidential, and I'll be happy to help you and give you as much assistance and resources as I can to help you out. And then at that time, we'll also schedule your free press release, which you can use for anything. You can do a press release on any product or anything that's going on in your business, and it's a lot of fun to do. So those are your gifts today, and then I want to say thank you for attending. Thank you for shucking and jiving with the technology today. And the last slide is questions and answers, which I don't know how to do in a Google Hangout, so I'm going to just send those to private message me. You know, go up to those the Facebook group there, join that Facebook group, and fire away with your questions. and we'll have a great time. So there you have it. I'm going to go back to my other beautiful thing here. Ta-da! Turn off the screen share so you don't see there we go. So we don't see the, there we go, lights on. So thank you very much for sharing today. I appreciate your time. This is Doug Crowe from Author Your Brand. Please join our Facebook group. And again, I apologize for the technical challenges and look forward to doing this again next time on a Google Hangout. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.